Okay, muchas gracias por venir. Thank you so much for coming to the conversation.
Do you want to introduce yourself a little bit?
Yes. So let's start with the basics. So my name is Lorena Mostajo. I run Taller California, which is a press based in Tijuana and San Diego. We work with artists that work in the region. We also publish books that are bilingual. The way we produce the books is very in-house. We make the majority of the books that you can see there. We bound them, print them in the workshop. We have a kind of a mixed model of production. One is the press, where we support artist endeavors. Like an artist, for example, brings a project and we develop the project with them, and so the press funds the entirety of the book. And then the other model is the workshop model, and with these we operate as with trueque, so artists who want to produce a limited run of prints or books, they give us paper and ink, and in return we produce the work for them. And these are shorter runs. So we are able to accommodate kind of different demands because we work small. I like to say that this is sort of a micro, well, it's not a sort of, it's a micro press. And also the idea of the press is that all the funds that the books produce help produce other books. So, and we have different agreements, economical agreements with artists. Some artists need more money, some artists need less money, so everybody each book is a different proposition of production, economical relations, and also distribution. So that's really important for us because I don't know if many of you know, but the way many of artist publications work is that many times presses ask artists to pay to produce their work. So we're kind of going also against that practice. We want to support artists as much as is possible, and so that's the double functioning, or the two parts of the press. I'm also a visual artist. I also teach at UCSD, and I'm from Mexico City. So yeah. Thank you.
Thank you, Lorena. My name is Armando Pulido. I worked with Lorena on this project with the MexiCali Biennial for Alien, the most recent artist book publication that Taller California produced, made in partnership, and on the occasion of the Paranormal Borders Lab, where we examined the border region as a space for the paranormal, dictating what is and isn't normal. And for this project, we prompted 5 artists, Lorena, Luis, who's here, and Ed, who's also here, Jessica Sevilla and Omar Pimienta, to essentially come to us with what they think, and they're contending with the alien in the border. But given this format of 3 books that interlock through their covers, the first printed in digital offset, the second in glow-in-the-dark screen printing, and the third in risographs. So we decided to make an exhibition to launch the book also, but to kind of show people the different components of the book and the thinking behind each artist's ultimate package of images. And then Lorena also created this incredible mural with risograph prints as well. This is a manipulated photo of an obsidian butte on the Salton Sea in the Imperial Valley, not too far from the border region itself. And this material would have been used by indigenous peoples along this region for thousands of years, but today kind of sits among geothermal plants that are extracting energy from the region, and also loosening the ground for lithium extraction. So for green energy moving into the future. So it was a kind of nice way to look at the land, which is what all artists kind of came to, looking at domestic spaces as land for...
In some way, and continue the tradition of many people that have also done that in the border. So I started I started Taller California, I got a used Riso, and I started working with different people, with very young artists in San Diego. I couldn't cross for some time to Mexico, so I had to kind of work with people there. But then once I started crossing, I started working with people in Tijuana. And so little by little, the press started to grow more. And then I developed this system in which, you know, funding and self-sustainability were possible. And so that's how it started. And then, you know, artists would contact me, oh, can you print this poster for my show? Or I need to print this little catalog. And so it started really in a minimal space, but little by little started growing. And then I was lucky to count with the participation of some artists, like, for example, Ruben Ortiz Torres, who we published Mexipunks. That was one of the first books that we published, and that book really helped fund other books that we had published. So I feel that that model has really, like, allowed me to also have a lot of liberty, a lot of freedom in deciding what to publish. The press has a kind of a bend towards the political. Artists who work with political subjects, and so, for example, one of our artists, Eva Apodaca, whose book is there, had some censorship happening in San Diego because one of his pieces was in the airport, and then because it has some criticism to, or like it's telling the story of resistance within the military, it was censored in San Diego. So I'm able to publish material like that without worrying if someone is going to take away funding from me. So in that sense, I feel that this is why I really enjoy working as an independent artist with artists, because then all the decisions that we make really are confined to what we want to make.
So it's been so important, but it's increasingly important as we face more censorship across the arts as well. And to that point, I was curious too, I didn't realize that when you first moved to San Diego, you couldn't really cross into Mexico. But because of the name Taller California, which I think bridges California, but then also Baja California, and you're situating yourself also between Tijuana and San Diego, how did you like come to that decision, or how did that come to be, being binational in that way?
Yeah, by the way, this is a story about the name Taller California, which I always have to explain because in the US, because everybody tells me, oh, Taller California, and then I didn't realize I thought so much about this name, Taller California. I was like, I have a great name, Taller California. It totally makes sense. El Taller de Gráfica, El Taller Border Arts Workshop. To me, it had all these references until someone told me, oh, Taller California, and I was like, what? I didn't, of course, taller. I was like, I didn't now. Exactly. So someone actually told me, like in book first, I remember one person said, "Oh, Taller California, is your press about trees?"
In a way, yes.
I mean, I was like, well, yeah, process trees. But so that's, I was thinking still in this, Spanish in kind of in a mental space. For me, it was not out of, meaning Tijuana needed to be there, just because of my relationship to the country, and also being in the border. Like, to me, I cannot understand San Diego if you're not looking at Tijuana or Los Angeles. So, and I feel this is also how I came to terms with living in San Diego, that I live in a Tijuana suburb. Like, I see it more in that way, and that allowed me to also be in San Diego with less difficulty in a way. So, and I also think Tijuana has an incredible art scene. So I also wanted to be in conversation with people in Tijuana. So that was very, very important, and really like reach as much as possible, that conversation, which has happened with some of the books.
Yeah.
So.
And you can see it even in the format and your play with language in a lot of them too, which is not an easy thing to do each time either.
No. And one of the things also that was really, really exciting was, collaboration with artists, and also as an artist, I think that the negotiation of how the book should look like, or because many of these projects are projects that are not at the stage of the book, right? They're like, for example, Ana's book, Ana Andrade, who's a photographer from Tijuana, an artist from Tijuana, she had worked in that project for 4 or 5 years. She was photographing the river. And when we met, she had a zine of 12 images, and she wanted to publish the zine, and I asked her, do you have more photographs? And she showed me the archive, and she had 6,000. We always lose track of how many photographs she had. She showed me, but at least we saw 5,000 photographs. And so, yes, muchísimas. So the book is almost 300 pages, right? So the project that she had, it was just want to publish my zine, and then I worked with her to kind of bring to life the entirety of the archive that she had.
Yeah.
And so the discussions with her, that's the book that has taken the longest, and also is the book that we didn't print in the taller, because it's photography. So we printed that book in Mexico City, and also we kind of I shouldn't say this in front of the camera, but but we brought it from Mexico City, and so that book, that negotiation with Ana was really fruitful, because from how the book should look in relation to what Ana is doing. So one of the decisions that we took was in the design, because she started photographing the ñongos, the structures that people build in the river that are layered and made of many different objects. The book has that same layering. So, and then you can see it there, you open a page and then you discover more images and more images. So that was something very important for us to at least say that, to engage the viewer in a way that you need to see beyond the kind of the constant image about that you think the border exudes, right? This is another conversation that we had. If you open the book, you don't know that you are right at the border. And so that's also something that we wanted kind of to shift a little bit, that the space of the river is not the space of the wall, it's the space of the humans and the non-human forces that are inhabiting that area. So the book starts, you really don't know, it seems that you're in this like flower field, and where there are birds, and suddenly you encounter a person sleeping there. So
yeah. The river was not something that was even in like my realm of like what I imagine when I think about the border, like historically for myself too. So it was a nice way to introduce myself to it. And Omar also has some work in Alien related to it as well, which is really great to see. And in thinking about like artist collaborations, my question is twofold now, and kind of shifting to this project. One, like how did you even come up with this 3-part like book architecture? Because I'm fascinated by Lorena's mind, so I just wanted to get to know more about that. And 2, we also held a Risograph workshop for the EN book C as we call it, with the blue cover, where each artist produced 3 different Risographs testing the printing methods, which only print in 5 colors, is it? But Lorena essentially hosted us at UCSD. We held a workshop, and you taught a lot of the artists for the first time how to print in this method too. So one, how did this idea come to you? And second, what was it like to also work with a group of 4 artists, and you're also one of them, and involving, incorporating your teaching as well?
Yeah, I mean, Alien Ed and Luis are here, and so I was very excited when they contacted me to work on a book project, because I'm a fan of the MexiCali Biennial, the work that they've been doing, so I was very excited. And then after different iterations of the project, this was what the proposal that we decided on. And then thinking, I remember the first time, not the first time, but one of the times that I actually drove very close, like the 8 towards El Centro. There's this area where I think there's a tower, and then you see the desert, and then there's these spaceships. Have you seen the spaceships? And I remember thinking, this is wild, like the spaceship in the desert that is a go-kart that is just alone there, and then the border patrol is there. So to me I was like, okay. And I remember when I learned what the biennial was, the theme of the biennial, I kept thinking about this image. And then I kept thinking about the different layers of meaning in the desert, in what is also a border. Like also this idea also came up with Anna's book, right? Like that the border is also this like it's not a line, but it's like these many layers of negotiations and meanings, and so you kind of, sometimes you cut it and you see it in a way, but I feel that they're more like this rather than like this. And so I wanted to make a book where all these layers were interlocked. And so this is why the first proposal of the book, all the books were interlocked. They're still interlocked, but the first proposal was like really one inside the other. But that, in terms of architecture of the paper, that was going to mess up a little bit with the really cool blue paper. So I kind of abandoned that to keep the pristine paper. So that was the first idea, that, or the idea with the layers, that this is a reality that expands and collapses, the same way the territory is being excavated. And right, like I also wanted to think about the alien, kind of take from the border patrol the term alien, and then, because I also been named as an alien. I was alien number blah blah blah, and so I wanted to stop thinking about alien in this way, and I wanted to think about the forces that make something alien. Like what is the, in this case, thinking in relation to land, to this kind of layering image, that layered image that I had. So to me, it was about excavation, taking out, kind of putting in, and so this is why the book has all these parts. And also this is why there's like this glow in the dark, right? Like I wanted to have a nod to the kind of extraterrestrial genre of the ovni, and so, but the glow in the dark ink serves to illuminate that kind of desire of extraction, of profiting. And so this is why we have this section of the individual prints where you see these, kind of with the glow in the dark light. So, and then the accordion, I love the structure of the accordion, and I remember Luis, you showed me this book that you had, and I remember thinking, oh, like this is because the accordion was kind of also a change, not last minute, but at the end. And I like the idea of the also the expansion, and then making the sense of space with the book. I really wanted the sense of, because the book also kind of cuts, but the accordion brings out. And so this is why I also thought about the first one, this act of like opening was important in seeing. And also the book is a proposition of seeing books in a different way, right? Like it's kind of like, is this a folder? How do you put it? How do you put it back? What is inside? So in a sense, what the viewer goes through is kind of trying to figure out how to see, how to be in the space. And then it was really great that all the artists were the work. I didn't give a lot of specifications to the artists. It was like, this is a book about the alien concept, and everybody presented work that connected in such a clear way. And so I feel that it also makes sense that we're thinking about land, right? Like this is where we are. It's like, it is there.
We've decimated it to the point of
yes, and also right, like the border is cutting the land, separating the land. Like it is that. So to me was an incredible coincidence, and we talked about this, right? Like it also made the editing process very easy in that regard, because I didn't have to figure out ways of putting images together that didn't have such a strong relationship, but it was the opposite. Everything, Jessica's work kind of opened up the book very clearly. Then Ed's work, then mine. Like I feel that each of the works kind of connects in this very interesting way.
What was it like deciding what your particular contribution was going to be? Because you were also editing and making the architecture of it all, but how was that research for you?
Yeah, so as you pointed out, I made I'm really attracted by these shapes that appear as salt, gold, like all these minerals and elements that from the earth. And so one of the things that I've been thinking about is the extraction of gold in Baja California. And then I read this article from the San Diego Historical Society that accounts for a very short gold fever in San Diego, where one of the arguments of the historian is that it was kind of made bigger to sound bigger than it was, because maybe the hypothesis was that maybe it was a way of extracting territory or taking territory from Mexico at that point in 1849. And so I was really interested in this, like, okay, so of course gold is the gateway for keep taking territory, right? And so I feel that the minerals like water, gold, lithium, silver have always been in the core of imperialist, endeavors. So I wanted to, and I also found out that the biggest gold nugget found in the Americas is called La Bota de Cortés boot, because it looks like a boot, and someone said let's name it La Bota de Cortés. And so I was like, okay, like this, who thought, because it was found in the Sonoran Desert in the US side, and I think it's part of a private collection, so I really wanted to do a collage with La Bota de Cortés. So to me that history of the kind of the short-lived gold fever connected really well to La Bota de Cortés found in the 80s.
It always blows my mind how hidden in plain sight these histories are sometimes. Like, it's always in the name, it's always in the place, and if you just do like a little bit of digging, you kind of like undo the layers of time that have hidden it. But I think that's such a good example of that too. I was curious to learn more about how your practice as an educator also has impacted taller, but also working with artists in general for your projects.
Yeah, I feel that I'm talking to my students all the time. Even though I'm like, yes, like I'm trying to. Also, well, the first time I taught at UCSD, I had been for many years in Mexico, and then I had to teach in English. And I think I went through a trance. I don't know what I said. I don't know what happened. And so, and I think
You
it
got
was
through
like
it,
that
yeah.
for a year probably, and then, so I feel that now I'm past the translation, in terms of organizing information for the students, and now I'm able to do some jazz stuff, where it's like, okay, I can improvise an argument and I can make it happen. So I feel that editing is also like that, because I talk a lot about editing to my students, and I think that, and this is where the artist as a publisher there's also like a very important element, right? It's not also making something public, but how you build meaning with images that talk to each other. So I feel that as someone who is constantly looking work from students and trying to say, okay, think about this other thing, publishing also is very similar to that, to kind of trying to make sense of things that are disconnected, trying to find things that connect images. So in that sense, I feel that it's not very far from, like, everything connects in that way in my practice. And also I was very lucky to have an incredible teacher I work in Mexico City in this journal called Lunacornia, which is a photo journal, and I work with Alfonso Morales, who's a photo curator in Mexico. And I think that all what I know about how to edit is thanks to Alfonso, because I was very young. He trusted that I could, the first assignment that I got was talk about Paul Strand's film in Mexico, Redes, and his relationship to Carlos Chavez, the music for the film. So I went to Archivo General de la Nación, and I was still in college in La UNAM, and he really trusted me. And so I feel that really stayed with me, that you can always find things if you stay, if you do the work in that sense. And so I feel that, he was an incredible teacher, someone who was very, who never stayed in the first option. So, editing is also that, like, it seems that you have something resolved, but you just have to keep, like, writing too, in a way. So I feel that all the teaching and editing and also collaborating with artists is very in the same kind of mental and emotional world. So and I really enjoy it. Although sometimes I feel that I live with people, and that my work is like so around people that I want a weekend.
You deserve that, for sure.
But I really enjoy it. And I think also one of the things that is that to me is really rewarding is when I go to book fairs and people talk about the books, and for example, Border Looping, which is this performance that David does at the border. It's a conversation between an anthropologist and David Morrison Portillo. David crosses the border in San Isidro for a couple of hours without stopping. So, and in this loop, both in the Mexican side and the US side, they have stopped him and harassed him or made jokes or or sent it to secondary inspection. And so, yes, Rihan, they were talking about this relationship that happens with the border, that David has with the border. I forgot what I was going to say, but my point is that with that book, for example, I had to negotiate a lot with David and Rihan, because Rihan is an anthropologist who studies linguistics at the border, like language at the border. So I wanted to say, like, what if we correct this little thing? And then Rihan would be like, no, but this is incredibly important. This is how David says things. So each book is also an important negotiation. And yeah.
It's a culmination of so many parts of your practice too. So let me check the time. Okay. I'll ask one more question, then we open up. But Mario, I know you have one that you want to ask now.
I'm curious of what you teach.
Oh, I teach, it's not as, oh, no, so I teach several classes. I teach one in the graduate program. I teach one that is artist bookmaking, and then right now I'm teaching the critique class. And then in the undergrad, I'm in the media area, so I teach photography, and mainly photography. So, yeah. Yeah, thank you for the question. Yes, I love the students. You know, I love the students when they're not in the zombie world, and I love the students. You know, but also I feel that this is a really important conversation, because I feel that as an artist right now, you know, when you're asking students to produce work, like I feel that there is a conversation. Okay, why do we make work? Mm-hmm. What is at stake? What do you want to say? And so I feel that negotiating. I feel that I always have to negotiate that before the work appears. Mm-hmm. And so that is the very rewarding, but also very difficult thing to do sometimes. For those of you who teach, probably you encounter this situation where.
I quit teaching.
You quit teaching. Yeah.
I'm sure it's a balancing act as well.
Yeah.
Just how much you embed or impose your desires for them.
Yeah.
You know, while they have to also come to it on their own.
Yeah.
Does anyone have any other questions?
I'd love to hear more about the mural, the site and the processes and, tree farming piece.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, so actually Jessica Sevilla, who's one of the artists in the book, told me, I've been researching for another project different bodies of water, and so I'm very interested in the Salton Sea, and so Jessica told me about this obsidian butte that there is at the Salton Sea. So I went to visit. I started doing more research, and then also there's a reserve, not a reserve, but like there's a protected area next to this butte, but also in front of the butte there is a plant, a geothermal plant. I also have a friend who has been doing work about the lithium extraction in the area, and one of the bodies of water that I've been studying is Lake Titicaca in La Paz, Bolivia. And so I'm also very interested in the extraction of lithium in the United States. So I really wanted to check the area. And so I went to photograph. And I really wanted to have another element for the show that kind of connected this, what is inside the book in a more kind of direct way. So this might seem that is kind of a big mountain, but it's actually here. Like it's very small. It's very small, but all what you see, this is shining. Like it's really shining. I was photographing at a time where the sun was hitting really hard on the stone, and this is all obsidian, and so all of these white dots are light being reflected. And so because we were, this was after working on the book, I really wanted to talk about this, the desire of minerals, the desire of extraction, and what is beneath that. And to me, there is like a kind of, suddenly these structures become so small, like kind of catalog-like images that you would find for catalogs for minerals. Mm-hmm. So I wanted to kind of play with the structure, with the scale, to kind of reference to the kind of hard, or like the really how you can find it, to the processed understanding of this natural space, which is extraction and profiting from the mineral. And then the floating island, I've been thinking a lot about, also islands because of these bodies of water that I'm working on, but also as I really think this is kind of a world in itself, right? It really has like a sense of its scale, and when I was putting on the ground, it really looked like it was coming out. Like it also has a 3D play or like a 3D effect when you see it. So the floating island also was kind of to kind of further that idea that this was a rarefied space, but also that you recognize very easily, right? Like a kind of a sort of mountain ridge, but there's something off. And what is something off to me is the alien thing. Like the something off is the desire of changing, extracting, taking from, to make money out of it and to make other things. Of course, you know, it's a simplified critique of the entire circuit of extraction and production, but I really wanted to kind of reference that with the mural. And then I also wanted to keep in the conversation with the very material aspects of making. So this is all made in riso, and I really like the kind of harsh ink on the paper. Riso ink never dries, so I kind of like that this kind of exudes ink in a way, right? Like the ink is, you can, if I put my finger like that, I can actually make a mark with my finger, like the ink will the kind of move because of the friction. So I also like that aspect that it's so solid and at the same time is something that can be.
I was wondering too.
Because it's a soy-based ink, and so it doesn't have the, I think, doesn't have the right chemical that sets the ink, and so I mean, the longer. Yeah, all happens with all riso works. They never dry. And for example, red and yellow are the ones that even you let it dry or like sit for a while, you still have that thing. And that's normal for riso.
Is that if it's printed on paper or any material?
Any material. So you can only print on uncoated paper in riso. That's also another reason. Like. So the paper is very porous, but also because the ink is like that, you need a very porous paper.
Is it printed in an tissue?
This one?
Yeah. Is it just one?
I made actually three. Only three. Yes. Yeah. Yeah. And so this one, I when I was printing it, there were some students also in the printing room, and then. Someone asked me, "Is this a wood block?" And I love that that also confusion with riso, right? Like I can't find photocopiers anymore on campus or very close to me, but I also like the aesthetic that is between a photocopy machine, between a wood block, between a screen print. Print. So yeah, screen printed print. So yeah, this is why I also chose riso. And I didn't want the photographic quality, like kind of the pristine photographic quality, because I wanted to kind of build another world with the materials that I was using.
Mm-hmm. I noticed that where all the smaller images are stitched together to make the mural, there's not really any attempt to disguise the line. Could you tell me about that?
Yes. And that I really like when things show their seams, right? That's also. And the book is also a little bit like that, like kind of an open seam, right? Like you have to assemble. So to me, it was very important to also show that this is assembled, that is not an illusion of a place or is not a window, but is rather like a surface that has been put together and pasted and touched. So that was one of the reasons. The other reason is that to kind of go against the perfect aspect of photography or the photographic image, not of photography, but of the photographic image, right? That you can, it's a continuous surface of light, but here is rather each panel, it's its own moment. So in a way, every panel has its own time, right? Like it has, also because the machine never prints the same way. So you can see, actually you can see some, if you pay attention, like if you're like really like, okay, let's see if it's really, it actually is not even. You can see in the sky, right? And sometimes it's because the this, you know, the software changes the image in a particular way. So to me was also because of the limitations of the machine, I didn't want to kind of push for have a seamless image. And the presence of hand was very important, right? To show that this was someone assembling, was part of the idea of also what extraction is, kind of mimic that in a way that you have to cut, take, put, yeah. You're welcome.
Do you participate in the Tijuana Zine Fest?
Yes, yeah.
Is it, when does it happen?
So it happened so it hasn't happened, I think it didn't happen last year, but every time is different. Every year is different, or I'm not so sure about when it happened last year.
How's your piece?
Yes, I'm actually, this is a great opportunity to announce that Taller California now, I'm working with 2 more editors. So Luisa Martinez, who actually ran the Tijuana Zine Fest, Luisa joined Taller California, and also Josh Tonayas. So I'm very excited that it's not going to be only me working, but 2 other artists from Tijuana and San Diego who are bringing their knowledge. So I'm very excited that Luisa, who ran the Tijuana Zine Fest, is now part of Taller California. Yeah.
That type of sneaky feeling.
It has a good feeling, yes, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I was going to ask about like what's next for Taller and that's exciting developments. Any other projects
Yes.
to close us off with?
So I really invite you to check out the books there. So we have 3 books for this year. Un Marido Mexicano, The Mexican Husband by Fabiola Carranza, who's a Canadian Costa Rican artist based in San Diego. She adapted the play by Bertolt Brecht, a Jewish woman, into the Trump era world, and so the protagonist of the play in the original play is this woman who's running, a Jewish woman who's running away from the Nazi Germany, but Fabiola adapted, changed the protagonist to be a Mexican-American artist who has to leave the United States, and it's a monologue about, you know, saying goodbye to his partner. So that play was recently presented in Bread and Salt in San Diego. And then the other new book is the book that I talked about, Eva Napodaka's Insurgent Archives from Secret City. And the other book is Covers, which is a zine, a series of zines around the heresies, the feminist magazine published in New York in the 80s. So we're inviting different artists. This is in collaboration with Melinda Guillen, and we're inviting different artists to respond to different issues of the heresies. So we're going to respond to art, environment, and feminism, and so that's the second issue that we're going to publish on that series. And those are the 3 books that are coming out this year. We're going to be in Printed Matter in the fair in Los Angeles in May, and we're going to have a presentation of the zine, of the covers. So I invite everybody to come to Los Angeles and visit us in the stand, in the table. We'll be there.
All right, well, thank you all for joining. One more round of applause for Lorena.
And for Armando. And also, I want to thank Ed and April and Luis, the MexiCali Biennial team, for the opportunity to work with all of you, and thank you for hosting the, the exhibition and helping us with the talk. It's been such a pleasure and such invaluable el apoyo que nos han dado. So thank you so much.
Team.
Yes.